Tonight I would like to give an informative speech on the subject of the SOS safety feature. We'll be talking about it specifically for iPhones because that's the type of phone that I possess, although Androids do have their own type of safety feature. To start, a statistic says 54% of teens spend at least 9 hours on their phone. And for as many people that are always talking about teens being immersed in technology, it's almost sad to say that these people, this amount of teenagers that spend so much time on phones and things of the sort, don't even know that that technology possesses something that could potentially save their life. Among kidnappings, 3% are abductions of teenagers, which doesn't sound like much in the grand scheme of everything. But when you break that down into factors, it ends up being about 1 out of every 18 teenagers is kidnapped or has the potential to be kidnapped, which is actually a pretty staggering statistic. If you were to look around the amount of teenagers that you see a day and count, 1 out of every 18 that you see is likely to be kidnapped. And what this feature does is prevent potentially, or at least invite fast response to that type of event in the case that something like that should happen, which we, of course, would hope never does. Anyone, male or female, can be put in that type of danger. And we're not just talking about specifically kidnapping, although that is one of the more prevalent crimes that we see with people that this feature does help for. The same goes for accidents involving yourself or other people, fights in public that you think may escalate and turn into something seriously dangerous. You being at the park or somewhere with your child or somebody else's child and they choke or they end up having some sort of severe injury. All of these things are 100% covered in the umbrella of this SOS feature. Your safety is literally in your hands to a certain degree. So what we want to cover today is the what, the why, and the how in discussing how SOS works and what it is, how it's helped in quick response emergency responders, and also how to set it up on your iPhone, which we'll demonstrate here in a minute. The SOS feature is built into your iPhone. It's in your settings. Upon purchase, you can go in and turn it on, or you can keep it off, although that's not necessarily recommended. It's assisted in saving lives on multiple accounts. Certain instances would include car accidents where a mother used her Apple Watch with her active SOS feature to call emergency services because she could tell that her child wasn't breathing when their car was flipped over in the middle of the highway. There are numerous other responses that you get from people that have this active for their phones and even their Apple Watches because it does work on both. And now we would like to show how to do the step-by-step setup. So if you go into your settings on your iPhone and scroll down until you find emergency SOS, you'll click that and it will give you the option that says call with side button. If that's off, you'll want to turn that on. And what that enables you to do is to take the lock button and click it 5 times, and it will give you the countdown to calling emergency SOS, which is what it says here on the top. Now, because that was a demonstration, and because accidents do happen, you could accidentally sit on your phone, you can stop that call after the countdown begins, and it will cancel the emergency SOS call. Now, if you were intending to call emergency SOS, what would happen is, once you click that 5 times, the countdown would happen, and you're actually allowed to turn that timer off, should you not want the sound to go on, just in case it is something that you need to be secretive about. When you click that button 5 times and it sends out the emergency alert, you get 3 swipe areas, one for a law enforcement SOS, one for a fire, and one for an EMS, depending on whatever your circumstance is. So the thing that is important to know is that this has improved response times all over the world. One of the most impressive accounts is a nonprofit in Israel called United Hatzalah. It's a nonprofit volunteer rescue organization that developed an app called Life Compass, which is their own version of a downloadable SOS, after they dealt with the kidnapping and murder of multiple children within the course of 1 year. They understood that this was something that they were having to face and they needed to do something to fix it. So they developed this app to make sure that everybody was able to download it and keep themselves and other people around them safe. And what that did for them specifically was it cut down the response time immensely. They went from 7 minutes to 3 minutes in about a year and a half, which is pretty impressive. And it could definitely be something that if law enforcement and the people that are in possession of this SOS feature were all made aware of, we could most definitely really cut down response times in the areas of law enforcement, fire, and EMS services. Another personal benefit of this type of function could also be that emergency responders and other agencies would be able to use it should they not be in direct contact with anybody that they need those services for. For example, Free International is a faith-based nonprofit in Las Vegas, and what they specialize in is using facial recognition software and they will go out into major cities and scan crowds, and all of their computers are actively downloading missing persons reports. So their facial recognition software will scan the crowd. Let's say they lock on to a person that's missing from states and states, miles and miles away. They could use this type of feature to immediately contact an emergency SOS service and get as much help as needed there as possible to make sure that person is rescued and attended to properly. Really what we want to do tonight with this information is just inform people that there is a way that you can keep yourself safe aside from carrying something that protects you or from always having to go out in groups, just so you're aware of the knowledge that there's always that little extra bit that you could get into to maintain your own safety. So, of course, we hope nothing like that is ever to happen to anybody, but just in case, you much rather want to be safe than sorry. So thank you for listening, and to the degree that you may need it, I really hope this helps. Good night.